were once a co-founder of Express Funded.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, I see press release or a message you posted saying that you've stepped down as a co-founder. Did you take yourself out because what they were saying were true? Or what is happening in the company?
We started a funding company, right? A proprietary trading firm. We scout out talented traders and then we give them funds to trade. That is the whole concept. As a tech company, we came in a bit at a wrong time.
But is Forex a scam?
No, Forex is far from being associated with the word scam. But we cannot also say that there aren't unscrupulous people in the trading space perpetuating scammy activities.
Kojo Forex is a prominent Forex trader and financial educator, known for his expertise in the Forex market. He is the founder of Kojo Forex Trading, an educational platform dedicated to demystifying Forex trading and empowering individuals to achieve financial independence.
I think one thing that most people miss, especially at the retail level, of why they are not almost successful is these things that we're speaking about. Me using the word never return is in replacement of you may never be successful. Because you probably never find that source.
What's the biggest loss you ever made on the market? How you feeling, man?
Great.
Yeah?
Very great. Very energized.
Amazing. You always look very calm.
For the most part.
Yeah. Why is that?
I think I just have a chilled personality though. I mean, sometimes with people's own perceptions, they think I'm just like loud, but in person, I'm just like very calm and chilled.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that also helps with your natural way of trading as well.
True.
Maybe that helps. I don't know. You know, I want you to tell me a bit of your backstory.
So it's actually going to be a lengthy one though.
Okay.
I hope we have the time for that.
Okay. All right.
Starting off, I'm from a very average or middle income family. My dad is a policeman. My mom is a trader, hairdresser. She's into basically any type of business of buying and selling. And then I personally grew up for the most part in the barracks, police barracks.
Okay.
Yeah, so when it comes to like some level of straightness and discipline, I started from that aspect in life. And then because of my father's arm in the service, which is like a CID, we used to like move around a lot. We lived in Cape Coast, we lived in Volta, Accra, literally a few places around the southern part of Ghana. I had the option of choosing a boys' school and mixed school, but for me, I think it wasn't cutting for me with a boys' school. My personal orientation has always been learning in a mixed environment. So I went to Agri Memorial, and then from there headed to University of Ghana, specifically the business school, read accounting, did my national service with National Petroleum Authority, ventured a little bit into the army. It didn't go well the way I wanted. And then by then I had skills in trading from school, which was 2012.
Where did you get that from?
So in 2012, I was really looking for means of making extra income. Because at that time I was like, I pretty much believe 20 years, 19, 20 years. I was still very dependent on my dad. My dad has been very central in my upbringing, you know, school fees, fending for me, everything. And then I was just trying to really grow out of that, you know, and if you kind of imagine that you've been stuck with your parent, being able to provide for you as much as they can for a long time, if you're not really that serious to get out of that scope, you just be dependent forever, you know. So I was really in that tight mood of just like getting out of that space and being able to do things for myself. And in Ghana, entrepreneurship, it's not almost available for the young one, especially with no capital. So it's like, what can I do? And being somewhat introverted, it was very difficult for me to say I'll go into buying and selling of clothes or shoes, or those were the available things. And even if I could do that, I was not up for it in terms of like meeting people. Rejection was something that I'd say I had not perfected then. Even till date, I'm still like not somebody who is easily, you know, who can easily take some form of rejections, you know. So I was like, then what ways or means can I make any income? And then I started, obviously, number one place is go to Google and Google how to make money online. I'd see blogging, I'd see so many, you know, suggestions, right? Then I saw trading, right? So prior to even the blogging and stuff like that, I think it was one of those lead that led me to messaging then. I don't know if it's still the most relevant, blogger then, which was Amaya Deborah, right? I went into his DM like, I want to work with you. I want to, anything, because I just want, that was what the internet told me. I can make money from that place. So I wanted somebody who's like that good at it and then learn from, fast forward, he wanted somebody who was like a full-time, and I wasn't like a full-time, I was a student. So it didn't happen then. But trading came along. I'm like, okay, trading. I'm a business student. I'm in finance already, it's in trading. By then too, I had already enrolled in the Ghana Stock Exchange. So I was a little bit exposed into the market, but stock exchange is particularly driven towards stock. And this one's like the currency market. They are very different, even though the processes seem similar. The stock exchange background made it a little bit easy, not extremely easy, but a little bit easy for me to also get more into the trading. And I started learning from there. And then that's just how I started trading in 2012. In terms of capital, it's nothing to really write home about. But then I was just happy that I had started something.
But how did you get the money?
So the thing is that I had few friends, right, who were into different businesses and then different ventures to make money, side income, especially sport betting. So they would make money on sport betting, put like 100 cities, make 1,007 and so on. And then they like people that I was really close to, and then they like we fended for each other, and I didn't have a personal stream of income of my own. So it's like, I want trading to be that thing. When they are doing their sport betting or whatever is giving them that gig and money, I want like trading to be that tiny thing for me to be able to make that money. So starting off, I've said it in several places. I had one friend in the US, right? I think it was my birthday, and then she just sent me $300. I didn't think twice. I just put the whole money into my trading account. And also, for some reason, maybe because of my experience in the finance space, I didn't have like that. I didn't particularly go through that beginner's mistake of just throwing some outrageous lot sizes and then blowing your account. I was literally doing the minimum lot sizes available.
But where did you get your training though? Your first training before you actually went on the market?
So I didn't get training from anyone. So then I did a research when I found trading to be part of the means of making income. I went online and I searched academy to learn trading from in Ghana. This is 2012 I'm talking about. There was barely anything you could find. Everything I found was foreign. There was one I found in Ghana though. I think that thing is in that academy is in Osu. And then they were charging then $800 for beginner session, which was like crazy.
That's a lot of money.
So I'm like, maybe this thing is not for me. I might probably go through the route of learning by myself, and then I consider myself a little bit smart, so it was easy for me to really read and understand the stuff. And then trading content, for the most part, then for beginner, you'd find everything on a website called Baby Pips.
Baby Pips, yes.
Exactly. So like read there, and then so many other blog posts, and then download so many PDFs, and then started from there. Like it was just like that.
Did you actually study the materials, or you're like one of those people that don't read the manual and just go on the market?
Did I really study that well?
Yeah.
I did study that well. So for me, I think also one thing that really drove me more into the market was that I used to really watch a lot of movies, Wall Street movies, and then see these guys making big cash and living the, A-class life in the movies, particularly Wolf of Wall Street and all of those type of, movies. I'm like, then trading must be that thing that can give you that type of life. So I understood, the lifestyle and then the process from that point, So it's like I have to just like study the materials, right? And then being that I was also concurrently doing that with a stock exchange, right? And then even in my own finance and accounting in school that I was learning, I just kind of saw the career prospect of it. You get me? I think that was what made the difference for me. For some people, many people, they come into it, they don't see the career prospect. It's like just another thing to make me extra income. Just another gig. Oh, somebody say, if you put this here, you can make this. And that's just how it ends for them. We had a brief conversation. You see how you outlined your career in pharmacy, medicine and stuff like that. You know exactly how you're building, your career trail from there. So for me too, it was like, if trading is a thing, and then I've seen people, right, who are in the professional space who have taken as a full-time career, then I must probably trail in that footpath than trying to just make like, some quick bucks out of it. So I studied more from the people who had made it a career than just some online person who was happy about turning some money around. And when you take it to the career level, then it's a whole different conversation. That's what I think that majority of the youth or people that today speak about trading have no idea about. Absolutely no idea about. I don't know, whatever, it's your full-time stream of income, but you wake up every morning looking up to how much worth has been added.
Yes.
And aside that, considering what expenses is going to come out of that stream of income, and then you know that it's so reliable that you're not going to be panicking and saying that next month I'm down to zero. How am I going to take care of these expenses? That's where you know that you're building something towards a career path.
Yeah.
So I made sure to make trading the same for me. In that, like, can you really take care of my real expenses, my rent, my car, travel, clothing, internet bills, literally any type of expense you can take care, you can think about, And once your income from trading is able to like cover that and still leave you a margin for savings, then you're fit for trading as a career. So once I studied people who had done it in that line, then it was easy for me to just say, okay, all that was required was to sharpen my skill set,
right, and
then be able to like open up myself to be able to attract huge capital and then move on from there as a career.
I spoke to someone who said, Derek, Kojo is very intellectual and forget what you see online. You're going to get a lot out of him. I think, he was definitely right. You're coming up with some really deep stuff. And when we started our pre-chat, I was waiting to hear more, but I didn't get it. You saved it all for the interview. Now, you see, there must have been something about you, though. You come across as a go-getter.
Yeah.
You come across as someone who wants to make more of their life than just what people see.
Yeah.
Where did you get that from? That innate thing you have?
I think that I read a lot, though. I'm not going to associate what I'm saying with reading per se. But why I'm introducing reading in the sense that I read more about like the abilities of the human nature. I delve more into philosophical books as well. I've read a lot of philosophical books that even stands from like the argument of how man came onto earth. Not to drive this into religion and anything, but the basic thinking of how things became, and think about the fact that, okay, today we go to school and then your teacher teaches you 1 + 1 and it's 2, right? And you have to accept it. But did you ask yourself who created it? Who started it?
So you were questioning life.
Questioning life.
It's good.
I started with that strong cognitive questionings. Is it a dissonance? Must I just accept it because it is? But through all those type of studies, I had seen men who had made the most out of their life within a short period, not necessarily in terms of monetary interpretation, but in terms of impact. We talk about Aristotle, we talk about the Thales, we talk about the, so many great names that you can mention. So I watch myself, I'm like, what am I even here for in the first place? Like the earth, the life that we are living here on earth, what are we here for? And then as a young child, you grow up in an environment where people are inspiring to become a doctor, become a pilot, become this. Of course, from a childhood, I thought I would become like a pilot. And then it became like architecture. Then it became different things. Until finally, like, yesterday I was having a conversation with my wife. I was like, do you think that out of all the guesses that our parents and their friends would have about, I want my daughter to become a doctor, to become a lawyer, do you think any of them would have thought about what I am today, like a trader? Did it even occur to them? Probably never. So that aspect of wanting to max out life and its potential is something that you find more with me and even more replicated around my friends. I have friends who are almost like very reluctant and then feel like, okay, you're doing well, we are friends, we are buddies, you're traveling. It's easy for me to buy a ticket for a friend. It's easy for me to accommodate a friend or pay their rent. But I know that, no, you have something in you and you got to explore that thing in you. So with me, it's like maximizing the human potential. And then before I'll even transfer it to somebody else, I must make sure that it's practical in my own life, So I go to the extent of stretching myself in everything that I do. Sometimes I get complacent. Quite recently, I found out with myself. I also do inner searching. I sit down, I'm like, okay, I have a house, have cars, I have this, I've left all these things in Dubai. I'm just here like why am I just wanting more? Probably okay. I should just coil up in my space. And then I think about the fact that God gave us a life to not be content with something when you can actually perceive increase in life. The more you make, the more He is happy. That's also one part of my philosophy. And then the more you're able to impact people, I don't want to sound religious here, but on earth or in the kingdom or whatever it is, the more you have money, the more you can actually stretch your hands and impact. So it's like, if I settle, my impact or reach is just limited. If I settle and say, okay, I'm happy, it's okay, let me just relax. So if there's room to stretch it out and make more, why not, do that? And that's just like personally my philosophy of life, though.
I just love everything you're saying. I mean, you could tell from my facial expressions that it sounds so sweet, because when I discovered self-development, it changed my life. Now, I think we were speaking earlier, and then I said, look, this is what the average youth in Ghana should search. Because wherever you're going to place yourself, if you are built, you can understand whatever you want to understand. True. If you're built, you can stand through many issues that you face in your life.
Trust me.
And we are getting issues like people stealing, people telling lies from the basic levels all the way up to, the senior levels in life. And it's all because, people are not set on the path of development from younger age.
I agree with you.
So I definitely do think that people should listen to Connected Minds, and let's see.
They really should.
Hopefully some people, take a turn. Now, it's interesting you spoke about reading.
Yeah.
Because that was my next question. I saw some pictures and I thought, this guy must be an avid reader. And my first question was, what was the first trading book you read?
First trading book? Will I even actually remember, if I want to be very honest? Because I started off with a lot of PDFs, like I told you, just to learn the basics.
Okay.
But if I really want to be honest about the serious books that I started reading to shape my mind towards the trading, I think I just saw one behind you, which is like Trading in the Zone.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd say that's like my professionally first trading book that I read. Obviously, without mindset, you cannot, start out as a trader at all. And then that was like the book that I read cover to cover, to get like that mindset shaped for trading. Other than that, I've read so many other technical books as well.
So when I was looking for that book, Trading in the Zone, I wanted a hard copy. And at the time, there were only two copies were available on Amazon when I was looking for it. And I actually had to get this from the US, even though I was in the UK. It cost me £150.
It's hard to get especially hard copy. It's very hard to get.
So I hold it very dear to my heart. That book has a lot of things. Forget even about the trading, right? The mindset.
So now chip in something. Now I think this reminds me, talking about Trading in the Zone, which is specifically tailored towards psychology, right? Yeah. But now I remembered exactly the first technical analysis book that I read in terms of trading. It's called Technical Analysis of Stock Trends, right, by Edward and Maggie. Now, that was also in 2018 or 19, right? Between 2018 and 19. So I was trading for a friend. Me and a friend, we had put our capital together to trade, right? And then fast forward, like to cut a long story short, we lost that money. And when we lost it, it's like I must probably be doing something wrong, technically or whatever it is. So like I started questioning again from my philosophy of life, like who started this? The questions that we're asking. So I'm like, who started this technical analysis per se? Like, where did it come from? What's the whole idea about it? And doing my research, I realized that the founding fathers of technical analysis is the Edward and Maggie, John Edward and I'm not forgetting the other names, Maggie. They have a book about 800-page volume. And then I stumbled upon that book. I did my research, got it, and started reading. and then they teach you, it's like a dissectomy of the market, and then from there on, I just had a good grasp of the foundation that I needed to move on from there. So coming back to that question, I'd put technical analysis of stock trend first before even trading in the zone. Yeah.
How do you think reading helps traders in the long run?
You see, I think also a while back when we were speaking, you talked about when you started your entrepreneurship in 24 years or something, you were literally everything, your accountant, your manager, your marketer. It's the same with trading, If you're a trader, you're your own accountant, you're your marketer, you're your risk compliance, you're your psychologist, you're literally your everything. So if you don't read, then how are you going to be able to build yourself to satisfy all of those? It's not as if you're going to employ 5 people to take care of each one of them, So you need reading. You need to read to become all of it, And it's just how it is. If without in-depth reading, you're not going to understand your own mind. You're not going to understand, the discipline that comes with following this proper risk management, and then just generally everything that you need to become a successful trader. Yeah. I think one thing that most people miss, especially at the retail level, of why they are not almost successful is these things that we're speaking about. Because at the professional level, they have people assigned for those roles. There's no banker or analyst on the Wall Street who doesn't have, in terms of the firm, don't have a psychologist, don't have a risk compliance, don't have whoever role individually that you can just walk up to and say, sometimes you don't even need to walk up to them. They're already watching your trading activity behind closed doors, and they can walk to you and say, hey, why are you over-risking this, or why are you doing this? But for a lone man in my room, you probably have only your wife coming to say, why are you over-risking? Yeah. You have nobody over-watching you. And once the human nature, you have nobody overwatching you, you are easily susceptible to going overboard. So I think that's also one aspect that makes.
I love that. I love that. But when you were speaking from your beginning to now, you haven't spoken about mentorship.
Yeah.
Now, I know you mentor a few people.
Yeah.
But how important do you think mentorship is as a beginner trader?
So there is this. All I've been said, like we call it sensitization or whatever it is, It's like a trend moving around, placing less emphasis and priorities on mentorship, right? People regard, okay, this person is mentoring, and then that's like their main source of income, whoever is mentoring, right? Or these mentors, they're not going to teach you anything. Go learn it on your own part. It's like something in that ecosystem of trading, right? So when it comes to that, it's like you have to find a balance. Me standing as a trader and as a mentor, and then finding that balance is more like, if you really want that mentorship, fine. And then at the same time, my doors are really not open to anybody because I really understand what it means to mentor somebody. Mentorship goes beyond just like finding a person's program or course and then learning their technical and say, okay, this person mentored me. Okay. That's extremely limited. You can find anybody's course anywhere. Mentorship is building that interpersonal relationship. And even to the extent of the person telling you what to even do with your first big break. That's somebody you can say, this person is mentoring me. Like I told you earlier, I had, like in terms of Della, I had never opened up any chat to tell him that do this. But he always calls me his mentor. Why? Because of the type of relationship that we have, the type of things that I share with him, the type of things that I've opened up to him that probably the world would never know, And so if you really have anybody, and I have mentors, not in trading, but in different spheres of life, in properties, probably any big name you can mention in Ghana in terms of property, I have a very direct relationship with them, and I learn under them, and then I serve them if they need me, in a very humble manner. Not as if, okay, I can rub shoulders with anybody. That's like mentorship. I've had people who I look up to, and the moment I got in contact with them, my whole idea is like, I'm coming to serve this person. Perhaps maybe because of my social media repute, they're like, okay, do you want us to do a project together? Do you want us to collaborate? Is that why you're getting in touch? I'm like, Now, at that point, I'm even a little bit confused. Should I say mentorship or what I want to do? But my intention was like, I need. So everybody needs that. You get what I mean? You really want to trail after people deeper than what you just see on the surface, and that's where you say you're getting mentored. And in trading, I can't emphasize that enough. You need that in today's market, especially in today's market. Things have changed a lot. But I always say that there are two ways anybody can pick, right, when it comes to trading. A self-taught process or angle, and then the mentorship route. Now, you're going to learn a lot, though, when you go through the self-taught. But your timeline is going to be extremely lengthened. It'll probably take you 5 to 10 years to figure it out. Mentorship, you're going to still learn a lot, but your time span will be very short, But the difference is that if you go through the self-taught process, you open yourself to all materials. So you're learning this, even the chaffs or useless one, the very key ones. And then after that, you have to be intelligent enough to be able to funnel and peel down the most important ones and say, okay, I want to work with this. But if you're going with a mentorship, you obviously know that your exposure in terms of the knowledge is going to be narrowed according to what the mentor has to impact on you. So I allow people to go through whatever route they want, because I know that if you go through this route, you'd find out a lot. You get me? Yeah. And then you would learn a lot along the way. But the risk with that route is that you may go so deep that you may never return.
Right.
Me using the word never return is in replacement of you may never be successful. Because you probably never find that source. But if you're going through a mentor, the person might have
But you did it.
I did it.
You did it.
Yeah.
A self-taught route.
I did.
How were you able to become successful then?
So I chipped in a little bit in a very casual way that I consider myself a little bit smart, but I can say a lot smart, being that I'm, all praise to God, have a very good memory, retentive one, and then intellectual one, and then maybe brilliance just in that way, being that I'm able to read and understand things much deeper than the ordinary person may. Sometimes we can just have some statement and everybody's going to read it on the surface ground. Right. But I can go the layers, a bit deeper in it. So, and then the way I would demonstrate that is even how I will teach you that thing. You get me? Or I'll explain further that thing. Me and you can read a statement, and then maybe an external person can ask, how do you guys understand this? And then you'd say yours and okay, good. And I'll say mine. And then you're like, okay, I didn't get it. And I have to explain mine to you. Then I can explain it and be like, oh, and it has always been like that from primary school to uni to SHS, complex mathematical.
Your way of thinking is very much different.
Yes.
Right.
For me, I do things not primarily even for myself, especially when it comes to academia or reading or anything to do with studies. It's I have to understand it so well that when I explain it to the other person, they understand it perhaps even more than me. When I'm studying a material, I spend a lot of time on that specific material and creating so many scenarios to fit any type of a person, even the lowest of IQ person. Because I can give you this scenario. Oh, I don't get it. I change the scenario to another thing. I change the scenario, about 4 scenarios. You will definitely get one of them.
Right.
And that's just how it is with me when it comes to trading. So learning by myself, it took a while, but it was also a little bit faster because of the way I'm breaking some of these things down. Okay. And I document everything. I have 10 personal diaries. And if you go back into my personal diaries, I have all the books that I'll learn, all the key points that I'll take out of those books. And then I had this highlighter. You take my books, you see highlighters all across my personal books because I'm picking out key details. And then with all of that, I was also personally asking myself a few questions, trading related. I was I'm watching the market. If you open any market or any chart of the market or any currency that you're watching, even commodities or even stocks, right? You just have a random movement of lines, whether candles or line or bar charts. It's just literally random, right? And then the whole thought process is that predict the direction and then make money of it, right? So I come back again to the philosophical point. How can I just like randomly see all this up and down movement and say, let me buy here or let me sell here, right? There must be some repetitiveness in it. Because ideally, I cannot catch every inch of that movement.
Right.
So once you come to think about the market from that angle, then you come back to the drawing board of looking for that repetitiveness that you can personally take advantage of. Not anybody. You personally, and I call that finding your truth. It's something that I've shared among the trading space, and now it's become a thing that a lot of traders are aware of. And I tell them that my truth can be very different from your truth. I had a few friends a few trader friends who are also big mentors in the space, come to my house, and we did a very random podcast. It was not like professional like this, but that type of thing. But we're just like having a conversation, and then I wanted to use our conversation to explain the concept of finding your truth, right? I didn't go it in a direct way. So I asked one friend, how do you trade? Can you just teach our friends or people online how you break down the market? And then they'll do this, I find the week of this and this and this. Like, okay, that's good. And then I ask another guy, okay, I do this. Then I come to myself and I'm like, okay, I do this. But at the end of the day, we are all independently confident in our concept. And we all have people watching after us and learning after us. But why would he not leave his material and come to mine? Why would I not leave my material and go to his? Because I have found my truth and I believe in it. So that's just what I go by. So you must find yours. So trading does not have that one formula where everybody must just follow and then say, I'm successful. Yours can be some very fine, funny, tiny bit of thing. But as far as it works for you and it's repetitive in nature, that's all you need to be successful in trading.
You only need to be right about 70% of the time. That's it.
All. That's all.
You post a lot.
Yeah.
You post beautiful things.
Yeah.
Kojo, you like beautiful things.
I do.
Some people initially used to think that your lifestyle was a scam.
Yeah.
That obviously stems from the whole Forex idea.
Yeah.
Because we've been privy to other Forex traders who've scammed people.
Yeah.
Because is Forex a scam?
No, Forex is far from being associated with the word scam.
Okay.
But we cannot also say that there aren't unscrupulous people in the trading space perpetuating scammy activities. That's two different things. The nature of the business has no association with scam. Okay. Everything in this world, there's scam in it. Pharmacy, there's no scam in it. You're going to get a shop. They tell you that, oh, you can get this for this. Next minute you come there like, do I know you? They literally scammed you in the process. Would you say pharmacy is a scam? You probably landed in the wrong, with the wrong person. So that's just that idea that people don't philosophically think beyond. Would you trade with a reputable broker and then press the button for your withdrawal and not get it? You would get it if you have made profit. But if you go to somebody that, okay, I want you to teach me, and they take your money, they don't teach you, now you associate that to the whole process of trading, then that's a very limited perspective. You get what I mean? So trading, it has no bearings with scam at all. Nothing. Look, trading, like anybody that says trading is a scam, right? Financial speculation is a scam. I don't have the most lowest derogatory description of them. I cannot even call them, quote unquote, dumb, because trading affects all our life, whether local or international. And you have to do a little bit of reading yourself to come and know what it really is before you even open your mouth to say scam. You can, like I said, associate that scam to a particular people in the space, which is okay. Maybe the activities or what they do, but not to label the whole industry, the whole process of speculation on the market as a scam. That's just how
you think that's a bit too much, right? For the entire industry, that's a bit too much.
It's too much. No.
You out of trading, you've acquired a lot of things.
Yeah.
You've done massive work.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you make the people around you really proud. But if you were to lose everything, what would be your steps to starting again?
If I was to lose everything and still have my social repute as Kojo.
And still be you.
I'd make it back so fast.
What would be your process?
I mean, experience is something that you cannot buy. You acquire, you go through the mill. And I have had all those experiences. I know the mistakes not to do again, the pitfalls, and I also know the right direction to just head on now. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, if you say that I'm supposed to start, what will I do? Then I'll probably fumble. But now with all the 12 years experience that I've gathered, it's easy for me to just know that, okay, straight away, I have to go to this point, start from here. And then I have found like that truth for myself, and that has saved me so many years already. So probably be like, I've escaped, that struggle of going through like the beginner process again.
Right.
If God forbid everything is taken away from me, I don't think it will be hard for me to come back up.
Someone who's just thinking of trading because they've heard you, they've seen you, they've seen your red car being posted and your beautiful homes and the family that you have. What are you going to tell that person? Where do they start from?
I tell them that think of trading in two angles. Number one, if you want it to become a side income type of a thing. Or number two, you want it to become your full-time thing. Once you're able to like deal with those two questions first, then you'd know how serious you want to go with it or not. See, you were quite loosened with how you express it because you have your main thing. Trading was just like, okay, let me just understand that terrain, which is perfect. I require everybody to just even go through that path and understand it. Perhaps it may become that thing for you. You may fall in love with it and want to go extra deeper. Perhaps you just say, okay, it's just another thing. It's okay, let me move on. Me, I've delved into so many things and I'm still delving into so many things. I'd meet some that I realized, look, this is not for me. I actually started a company a while back, and how far and deep it was going, I realized that it's not syncing with my mindset, my persona. It was easy for me to just pull back, and there's no regret in doing that. So in trading, it's supposed to be that way. But once a person is able to answer that, okay, this is like a side thing that I want, maybe they have like a full-time job, they love it, but they just want to trade. They may not want to like go the extreme, in understanding the terrain and burdening their head with all the difficulties that trading comes with. But you that wants to really go into trading like a full-time and make it like your main sort of income, then you have a big responsibility on your head. And then we can go further to what that person must do,
What would be the first thing that person should do then?
Setting your grounds is not part of the process. Okay. Number one, learning the basics of trading, getting a reputable broker, having some source of income to fund as your first capital, and then even getting the necessary and right materials to learn or perhaps practice to understand that you have some edge on the market. You must have an edge on the market. And then an edge, we describe it as the probability of being far more right than wrong on the market. Anybody who is far more wrong than right, they don't have an edge in the market. And then that person's equity curve will just be going down. But if you have an edge, means that, you make some mistakes, you take some losses, but on the average, on a long term, your trend will be just going on an uptrend, So once that basic grounds has been covered, then we come back to the initial conversation. We were saying that for something to be your career path, you must see longevity in it, long-term prospect. Can I do this for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? The normal average working years for any 9-to-5er or an employee would be like between 25 years to 30 years. Because on the average, you kind of think about it like, okay, you start working at 25. Or even if it's 30, you're going to retire within 55 or 60, that type of average, depending on the organization you're working with. So you must fit trading into that same space. And remember, for anybody who's working for an organization for that long, there are statutory obligations that are being fulfilled on behalf of that person. We can talk about their taxes. We can talk about their SNIT, which is like their pension contribution. Apart from that, there are internal funds that take care of contingencies for the person. When the person's direct family relation is dead or, in a daring moment, right? The whole organization can contribute from the fund and say, you take care of your sick mom, or this is a contribution for you to go and bury your loved one or something. Do you have that internally, personally, as a trader? Do you have a pension contribution? Do you have an insurance scheme? Do you have this? And then we've not even come to the point where eventually you become a family man. You're going to get married. You're going to take somebody's daughter into your abode if you're a man. If you're a woman, then you may not be too bad, depending on who you marry anyway. But speaking from the perspective of a man solely, going to take somebody's daughter into your abode and be fully responsible for the person, regardless of whether the person is working or not. You're the head of the family. Eventually, kids are going to come out of it. You're going to take your kids through school, paying school fees, medical, this, supporting your now relatives. Can you do all that and still be a trader? I don't think people think far beyond that in the space. And the moment they come home, and start taking things from that angle, then you know that you're really in this.
You're really deep, man. Yeah. It feels like you speak to a lot of people who are much older than you are.
I do.
Yeah. It's a really good practice, What's the biggest loss you ever made on the market?
I've not made extremely outrageous loss. I quite remember that it has not been more than 30,000. Let's say not more than 30,000 at a go. Yeah, at a sitting. And that was also very much in $10,000, by the way. That was also very much in, I think, 2020. I think I was a little bit too inspired and motivated, and I think I was trying to acquire some asset, so I was a little bit driven to just risk far more than my average, and then that made me lose that type of money. I still made it back anyway. So many people have posed this type of questions to me. Anytime I answer, they're like, probably expecting to have had 100,000, 1 million or something. But the truth of the matter is that I have so much respect for money. I don't take pride in losing money and then shrugging it off like, I lost 100,000, 500,000 in the market. That's stupidity to some extent, excuse my language, by the way. For you to be extremely excited about losing money when you know the right processes to go through, especially when you're taking trading on a part of a career. Mind you, that 30,000 was on capitals that could sustain it. I didn't lose 30,000 out of a balance of 30,000. I don't know if you get what I mean. I lost 30,000 out of probably about 100,000 or 150,000, which was a little bit too much then, even for me. But it's still even reasonable, not even about half of the account gone. You get what I mean? So I've always preached that to people around me on any platform, that there's no nobility in bragging about your losses. Respect money and money will respect you. And that's like one of my key philosophies.
So then I go through your Twitter.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a lot of blues.
Yeah.
You post some of your trades and how much you've... I don't know whether it's you or it's one of your students or whatever, or one of your accounts. But I did not see any of the losses being posted.
Well, so the truth of the matter is that currently my losses would be in single-handed trades. You get what I mean? Like you'd see, it's not like with how I trade now, it's hard for you to just see that, okay, today I lost like 50,000 or I lost like 100,000 of dollars. And for me particularly, I trade very less, And why I trade very less is also because that I have grown into the industry and become a swing trader. And in swing trading, you're basically watching things on a higher time frame. I could just probably trade like once a week or 2 times a week, And then that once a week, I'm literally trading 1 currency pair or 2 currency pair. And then when I see them, I'm loading multiple positions. And then on that day, I feel inspired and be like, okay, let me just post this profit. It does not necessarily mean that there aren't losses, But you're right that probably it's been a while people saw the dark side of it when it comes to like those few losses that comes as well, though.
When you've mentioned that sometimes, you do take a loss, it makes other people that watch you as well feel like, yeah, okay, something I take a look.
No, of course.
That's the process. That's where I learn, right?
No, of course. No, look, I actually do post most of them on my story. So it depends on what social media and the type of messages that I'm always like passing. Because of some of the mindset, funny enough, on certain platforms. You get what I mean? And for me, I just think that there is some good amount of people in all my social media scope, like in terms of the fact that the majority of people that follow me on Instagram may be reflected in the people that are following me on Twitter. So if I post something on Instagram, I already perceive that majority of the people on Twitter are the same people who may have seen it. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
With you, yeah.
But, in terms of the feedback, Instagram is a little bit more direct and private. Okay. And Twitter is just like too loud. And so I just select some things to... it's just all personal management of...
I understand.
Yeah.
When you were first starting out, and I don't want to talk about now because now the numbers are too big. What was the first amount of money you made that you got, wow, it is possible?
It will probably not be an amount that will wow you. But then, during those times, it did wow me. It will probably be just around like $5,000 or $10,000, And that was probably like in 2018, or 19 thereof. But for me, I was not thinking about things in dollar term. I was thinking about things in CD term. And I was like, within the short period, but we've been able to make this in CDs, then this is a dangerous niche that I'm in.
Give me your top 3 pairs.
Top 3, they would all be pound related. Pound USD, which you will call GBP USD, GBP CAD, and then GBP CHF, which is a pound Swiss franc. Yeah, that'd be like my top 3 pairs. I have so much strong edge on the pound.
When you first start trading,
yeah,
you sit in front of the computer, there's usually a lot of fear in even hitting that button when you put your raw money in it. Mm-hmm. Most beginner traders experience that. How are you able to trade without fear?
I don't trade without fear. The last time I traded without fear was probably like, the last time I traded with fear was probably like 8 years ago or 9 years ago. Because the moment you go through the rudiment of learning about risk in the market, it's like your fear is as deep as how deep your foot is in the trade. And that's something that I get so many people intertwining with how risky trading is, and then they don't want to get involved in it, And I just keep hammering that for any business at all, there's a good amount of risk associated to it. You're in the pharmaceutical business.
Yep.
Imagine you go take loads of medicine, being inspired that I'm going to clear all of this with expiry dates, and then they don't sell.
Yep.
That's a loss.
Yeah, huge.
So you know how to manage your inventory. You do manage or you don't. You do manage your inventory. You are tracking, okay, this one has 3 months to
so
expire.
Let's sell that first. Yeah.
So we do that in trading as well. I know that, okay, I have a capital balance of 100,000.
Okay.
Exposing 1% of that is $1,000. So if I'm exposing $1,000 per trade for a trade which has a risk to reward is something that we prioritize in trading. Okay. Like how much you're giving for how much you're expecting. And for trading concept, in terms of our trading strategy, ideally you're advised to go for at least 1:2. Okay. It's like if you take my 1, I'm likely to take 2 from you.
Right.
And it can go beyond 1:2, 1:3, 1:4. And that's just what balances our books, okay, or our P&L in the market. In that, if I expose 1,000 in expectation of making 3,000 and I got it wrong, the market took 1,000 from me, right? Let's say in that instance, my capital of 100,000 has become 99,000. The next trade, I still risk 1,000. Then I make a positive trade, which makes me 1:3, means that I've made $3,000 profit. Now my capital balance become 102,000. covering the losses and giving me extra profit.
Right.
You know, so if you're able to consistently keep that in check with that risk management, then you're doing business like somebody who is managing their inventory, you know, in any business, whether it's a pharmacy or a shop or anything, you know, and that point, you not see trading risky at all. It's greed that get people go beyond that. The greed with trading is that your inventory is direct cash. You know, your inventory is real medicine in the shops. It's not straightforward to convert them into liquid cash. And that's the difference. Because my inventory is in my capital, which is like the direct cash I see on the trading platform. If that platform, I press a button and it makes me 2,000, I'm like, why not press more to make 10,000 instantly? If somebody comes into your shop, I'm giving this analogy because it's the most basic to make sense to the everyday person. If somebody comes to your shop and then perhaps make their biggest purchase, maybe today, maybe your average daily sales in your pharmacy is, let's say, 20,000 cedis. And for instance, one big man comes to buy the most expensive drug, and then there's an outlier in your daily sales. And then now that particular day you made like 50,000, right? And perhaps that person bought like some medicine which cost 30,000 cedis. Can you force the rest of the inventory on the person that take it?
No.
Yeah, obviously.
You were once a co-founder of Express Funded prop firm.
Yes.
But then all of a sudden, I see a press release or a message you posted saying that you've stepped down as a co-founder. Probably you took away your shares. I don't know what happened. And people are really asking questions about that company and its credibility. Did you take yourself out because what they were saying were true, or what is happening in the company?
Okay, so perhaps this is like the most official platform that I used to like delve a little bit into that. Personally, I've not had any relevance of speaking about it because I think that the type of information that you hear and then in a society that you expect people to be somewhat reasonable, and then they are thinking in a very low way, like, are these people like thinking in the right way? You know, I don't want to use strong words here. You've started partnership. You have a partnership with somebody abroad. You can have a very bad feel about the whole thing. Perhaps it's your partner. I'm not even saying that related to my partners. Or perhaps even about the business in terms of expectation, right? And say, I've invested time and effort and everything, but it's okay. You know, you take it if you want to. And then the person accepts it. Can I come back and label you as, you rubbish man, you scammed your company or something? That's not business-like. You get what I mean? So the thing is that I'll explain it related to Express Funded. We started a funding company, right? A proprietary trading firm. And then the whole concept of a proprietary trading firm is that we scout out talented traders and then we give them funds to trade. That is the whole concept. In-house, it's a very private business, right? Okay. But the part that opens us up to the public is that we are seeking general traders to come take a test, right, with us. And then once they're able to pass through the test with our metrics, then it automatically fishes out the best of the best, and then they come into our private space, right? So that's just what proprietary trading firm is about, and that's what Express Funded is about. So we launched, right, in 1st of December, 2023. And proprietary trading firm, especially the modern day proprietary trading firm, there's two differences, right? We have the traditional proprietary trading firms. The traditional one is that, like you see my office in Ghana, right? I have a proprietary trading firm in that space.
Okay.
I have people that come walk in there and trade with me. We have computers. We I'll send you some picture. You probably put it in the video, right? You get me? So now, with that same concept has been taken online. It's an innovative environment.
Right.
Because now not everybody can travel from all over the world and come and meet us in that space to trade with us. You get me? In terms of looking out for the best of the best traders. So now we have an evaluation, step that any trader across the globe is invited to take. It's a 2-step evaluation with key metrics. If it's $10,000 you want to trade, right?
There's an amount you have to pay.
Yes,
and then take that.
Yes.
Right.
Very tiny amount, fraction. Particularly with examples, 10,000 you probably pay like $40. You get me? With a $10,000 account you want to trade, you pay $40. The $40 is the evaluation fee you're paying. The $40 is not an investment.
Right.
It has nothing to do with, I don't know if you get what I mean. It's not an investment.
Yep.
It's a fee, just like you want to take WASI exams or anything and you pay your admission fee.
It's basically an application. You're paying for the application.
You're paying for application.
Right.
Because it costs systems to run those things that you're coming to take. You get me? Now you pay that. It's all in the tech space, right? It's all in the tech space. Like you take the evaluation. We have our metrics. Make 10%. Do not lose 4% in a day. You get what I mean? And then overall, do not lose 10% of the capital.
Okay.
That's like the most basic rules outlined, right? On the 10,000, remember, rule number one, make 10% of it. So we're expecting you to make like $1,000 on it. But within that period of trying to make the 10%, right, to prove that you're a good trader, because we're not even expecting you to make 100%. We're not even expecting you to make 50%. We're just expecting you to make just 10%.
10%, yeah.
Do not lose 4% in a day. If you lose 4%, it means that you're not disciplined enough to follow
You don't meet our criteria.
You don't meet our criteria.
Right.
And overall, do not lose 10%. Once you're able to go through that with no timeline, and then you pass, then indeed you qualify to get funded by us.
Okay.
Now, as a tech company, we came in a bit at a wrong time in the industry. The industry was going through a shift, right? In the sense that in trading, there are so many platforms. I'm pretty much sure that you're very familiar with the MetaTrader platform.
Yes.
Now, this was a period where MetaTrader was shifting its operations a little bit from the US market and then literally the North American market. So any organization in terms of a brokerage firm or a proprietary trading firm that had significant amount of clients from these restricted markets, they'll come after you and perhaps close you down or seize your license. So we had partnership with so many brokers, right, who are offering us these trading accounts that we're giving to our funded traders, who also had external partners who were offering services to people in these restricted regions. Just early on in our operations. Just early on. Imagine you start a business first month and then this big thing just hits like that. So it disrupts our game plan and everything. You get what I mean? And now we have to come back to the drawing board and look for a platform that the traders are going to love and at the same time will perhaps be able to service and not have any restriction and then too much rules, and at the same time affordable within the company's reasonable budget. So it's like back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
But while we are behind the scenes and doing this, then you get like the regular person just writing things and just rubbishing you anyhow. It's like you open yourself to the normal person to just come and say anything at any time. It was not syncing with my personal growth and plan that I want for myself. Outside of that space, have you ever seen anybody write anything? No. From that time that I stepped out, have you ever seen anything? No.
Yeah.
So it probably means that if I was still in solving all this problem and growing this, I should be. So it's all about priority. My priority in life prioritizes my peace of mind and just like doing my business that does not have involvement of the ordinary man far more than something which is supposed to give an opportunity to people, but once you're on the ground solving issues, they'll come back to lambast you.
I'm sure people were thinking you guys have taken their money and, you don't want to pay back.
And funny thing is that the company is still in operation. My partners continued with it. You understand me? We had equal equity. I just said, you know what? Take everything, continue it. I'm stepping back. With no bad blood with them, with no issues with them, And then we all had our unique contribution in terms of knowledge and key details to just grow the company. So till date, right, they just asked that, we don't want, even though you're not part of us, we don't want you like an enemy. We cannot speak to you and reach out to you. We are friends before businessmen. So we still get together and speak about, but I'm not like in the core decision making.
Currently, you are not actively a decision maker on the board.
I'm not whether active or inactive. I'm zero.
Zero.
Yeah,
okay.
zero.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motivation or discipline?
Discipline.
Okay.
Discipline. 100% discipline. I don't need motivation.
What's the best advice you ever received?
Be selfish with your own interest.
That's a new one.
You can align that with my decision, with everything around, even with express final conversation having me. If I'm not selfish with my interest, I consider what they're probably going to say about this and that. Okay, let me just. But meanwhile, I'm just getting frustrated with too much. I'm selfish with my interest. It's okay. I don't want it anymore. Take it. Even if you're going to make gazillions out of it, I'm okay. Because my interest is I want my peace of mind.
And my last question is there anything you want to say to my people on Connected Minds? And that's your camera.
What I want to say is that, obviously, coming from the aspect of Connected Minds is a platform that you don't want to like miss out on, because obviously I've seen a few of the interviews. Great minds are coming through. In terms of the conversation that we've had, trading related, if you're a human being, you must have a mind of your own. I think that's what most youth particularly lack. We find ourselves boxed in a court and then go with any narrative as far as this is just the selling proposition. This is just what is being presented in us. And if you're somebody who doesn't look at things from that introspective and analyzing that, okay, what decision can I make out of my own? And then you're always like taking things on the surface, then you're probably not going to go that far. Once you're able to make an intensive judgment of your own and then have a mind of your own, you become like that outlier in a bunch of crowd, and then you tend to be able to identify yourself separately. In a society where opportunities are limited, but the population is almost infinite, if you're not unique in your own way, there'll be nothing left for you to grasp.
I've just been speaking to Kojo Forex, and this guy is probably one of the top traders in Africa, hands down. Now, I've enjoyed every aspect of the conversation. Most importantly, the mind that this young man has. And if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. Please stay with us and stay connected. My name is Derek Abaite. I'm out.